Hey guys, the purpose of this video is to talk about freedom in the West, the motivation for African Americans to move to the West during Westward Expansion. In 1789, that's when the Constitution was written. 8 out of the 13 states allowed slavery. In these states that are red according to the map key on this map, slavery was allowed, so people were allowed to own enslaved African Americans and force them to work without pay. In 5 of the states in 1789, slavery was not allowed. So if you were an African American in one of these free states, you would not be allowed to be forced into slavery or forced into working without pay. Over time, more northern states started abolishing slavery. This is a vocab word that means getting rid of. So you can see the differences between the map in 1789 and 1800, where in 1789 there are fewer blue states, which according to this map means free states. But by 1800, 11 years later, most of the North has abolished or gotten rid of slavery. But slavery was still legal in the southern states, where there were large plantations. As Western territories were added to the United States, Americans started debating whether or not slavery should be allowed in the West. So as we can see from this map, there are 5 big territories or land that the United States owns that we control over the course of 50 or so years. The Louisiana Purchase we get in 1803 when Thomas Jefferson buys it from France. Florida we get in 1819 when it's ceded or given to us by Spain. Texas we get in 1845 after it's added after being an independent republic. Oregon country up here in the Northwest, we get in 1846 when we get it from Great Britain, and Great Britain gets the land north of this territory. And then finally, the California territory is given to us by Mexico in 1848 after we win the Mexican-American War. This land out here in the West is territories, which means it's owned by the United States, but it's not states yet. And this land, again, starts this debate over whether or not slavery should be allowed in the West as we continue to expand our country. Abolitionists were the people who wanted slavery to be abolished or illegal because it was cruel. Abolitionists did not want slavery in the West. They wanted it to stay concentrated in the southeastern part of the United States. Pro-slavery advocates felt that allowing slavery was good for the economy, and they did want slavery to be allowed in the West as we got more territory and states. When Missouri wanted to become a state in 1820, Congress, remember that's the group of people that make the laws for the federal or national government, settled the debate with the Missouri Compromise. This compromise made people that were abolitionists feel like they got something, and it made people who were pro-slavery feel like they got something. With the Missouri Compromise in 1820, Missouri is allowed to become a slave state, so slavery is allowed in the state of Missouri. But they draw this line to the south of Missouri and say that no slavery will be allowed in the territories north of that line. At the same time, Maine stops being a part of Massachusetts and becomes its own state. So now there are 12 slave states, 12 free states, and the territory in the north will forever be free, according to the Missouri Compromise. Some enslaved African Americans in the South sought freedom by running away from the plantations they were forced to work on. And brave abolitionists like Harriet Tubman, pictured here, helped enslaved African Americans escape to freedom in the North, because northern states were majority free states. But escaping to the northern states wasn't an option for every enslaved African American who was trying to run away. If you lived in Texas or Arkansas, coming to Pennsylvania probably was not an option. So the free territory in the North and the West became an option. Free territories in the West provided an option for African Americans to reach freedom. In the West, there were millions of acres of land that they could farm and earn money, and at the same time keep their freedom by being in a free territory.